Here we are, 1 week out from the NRL final series, round 26, and welcome along to Betfair's preview of all the action this weekend. I'm Mathew Thompson with a very excited Tim Gilbert. We've only got 1 week to go and then we're into the business end of the season, mate.
Hasn't it been wonderful? The football's been absolutely superb. The competition, how close is it? We've got a battle for the minor premiership. This game on Sunday afternoon, which I know we're going to get to shortly with Penrith and the Knights, that is just mouth-watering. And the winner goes through, the loser, well, they get on the plane for their end-of-season trip. That'll be a beauty.
Now, what about the minor premiership? It's bizarre to think that 3-4 weeks ago the Bulldogs were backed at around about $15 to win the minor premiership when the Dragons had the big break, but the Betfair punters, if you took the $15, you'd be laughing now because they're pretty much home and hosed.
There was a mate of mine, and you don't know him, but he was saying that the Dragons were morals for the premiership back a few weeks ago. He's peddling now, backpedaling on that one, because the Dragons, aren't they taking the gas? Yeah. They've got the chicken bone in the throat.
But it was me, and the little text message came through on Saturday saying I'm getting a bit shaky. I still think they can win the comp. Don't get me wrong there.
You'll withdraw from the morals.
Well, they're not morals now, no.
Oh, please.
Well, I'll put this to you. Now, this is the first game, St George Illawarra Parramatta. Now, at the moment on Betfair, $1.91 the Dragons' favourites against the red-hot Eels at $2. If they get beat here, the Dragons, they're just about gone, aren't they?
Well, they'll find it difficult. See, the thing about the McIntyre system, and it's got 50% of the people who love it, 50% that hate it. One thing it does do is it almost starts a new competition when you get to the semi-finals. It doesn't advantage the top teams as much as some of the other systems we've seen in the past. And whether or not the Dragons finish 1-2, if they're not in good form, they could be on the slippery side real quick. I can't see them turning their form around that quick enough. Oh, that good enough to beat Parramatta. They can turn their form around, but Parramatta is the form team. They've got the spinnaker up, and if you're going to pick the best team in the comp, you'd have to say it's them at the minute. Parramatta.
I tip the Dragons.
Okay.
I think they can hit back. You just see Wayne Bennett talking tough in the papers. We're not chokers, isn't he? Going to do everything in his power. He's going to summons all his wizardry to get them over the line this week.
Yeah. I just don't think it'll... I mean, Wayne Bennett's great, but he can't go out and play for them. No. Jared Hayne, something would have to happen for Parramatta, I think. But Tech Cogra. I know Tech Cogra, it's difficult. But you've got to tip a team, Parramatta to win.
All right, Tigers versus the Bulldogs. The poor old Tigers, they've done a great job towards the second half of the year, but they're going to come up short of the finals against the Dogs without Brett Kamali. $1.50 the Dogs, $2.70 the Tigers at the moment on Betfair.
Yeah, Tigers had so many wonderful opportunities in the early part of the season, and they lost by point, they lost by 2 points, they lost by this, they lost by that, they lost by a butterfly wing. It's come to hurt them because they've been desperate for a long time and they couldn't beat the Gold Coast. So anyway, this season is academic for them. This game is academic for them. The Dogs know Kamali, but you've got to look at their football team. They've got great outside backs. They've got a fullback in Luke Patton that missed most of the year, who's playing brilliant football. His 200th first grade game, and they've got a brilliant pack. I think they'll win, the Dogs.
I think they'll win as well. And if they can get through, win the minor premiership, win week 1, have the week off, Kamali will be back.
He'll be back.
So,
what they say is with those titanium plates, as long as you get over the initial stuff and the operation goes well, it can be stronger than what it was before.
Yeah, well, you won't be keeping Brett Kamali off the field. He'll be desperate to get back.
Yep.
Now, this is a little trap game, I reckon. I know the Warriors are hopeless, but they're at home to Melbourne, and their record against Melbourne recently isn't too bad. They're $3. The Storm are $1.41.
Yeah, and they're riding the emotional wave of Stacey Jones's final game. Look, he played his final game a few years ago and made a comeback. But they love him over there. They'll be doing everything in their power to win. Melbourne really, as a result, do need to win this to maintain that top 4 position.
Not playing as well as they might, though.
Yeah, no, they're not. But they've got Inglis, and they played pretty good last weekend. I've got to tip Melbourne. I've got to tip Melbourne on the back of their desperation, because a top 4 spot, although the McIntyre system doesn't advantage teams that much, it does for the top 4 in the sense that you get a home final. So I think Melbourne will want to have one more game at Olympic Park.
I think they can win, but I reckon this is a really tight game. Not one you should be laughing at as you normally would when the Warriors are involved.
No, for sure.
Say goodbye to the Warriors for 2009. Thank God for that. Manly versus the Gold Coast here. Manly $1.40, the Gold Coast Titans $2.90. Now, what about last week? Now, we sat here saying that they're the best thing ever. They'll absolutely lambast the Sharks. Well, they fair dinkum nearly got beat. And some people are saying they should have.
Yeah, they were poor. They were really poor. Can they be poor 2 weeks in a row? Manly, what a season. They even had Brett Stewart back. He'll be better for the run. At home against the Gold Coast Titans, Desi will have them on the top of their toes. Yeah, Manly.
I think they'll win. That was I couldn't believe last week.
Yeah, they weren't good. The Sharks were very good. They've been like that all year. And when you sort of forecast towards 2010, Dean Collis, John Morris, a few other players coming their way. They could be a lot better, the Sharks, and they could really push next year.
Trent Barrett back fit and firing. Now, Cronulla versus South Sydney here, $2.20 the Sharks. South Sydney $1.70. As you said, you've just alluded to it. They tried very hard, the Sharks. They're lacking firepower, but Souths, what about the performance they pulled out last week?
Yeah, they would have wished Russell Crowe was filming Robin Hood up in the Blue Mountains rather than in the UK, because he seems to be their good luck charm. He was giving it the come-ons and the big James Braddock's punch in the air. Souths to win for me. They were in emphatic form last week. If they could have done that every week, they'd be in the finals.
Another inconsequential goal. I'll tip South, by the way, too. Not that it really matters. We've got the Roosters versus North Queensland here. We say goodbye to a few Roosters legends, namely Craig Fitzgibbon, Mark O'Mealy, who haven't seen much this year, of course, and the trainer is getting a farewell.
Yeah, Cougar, Ronnie Palmer.
$2.20 outside as the Roosters. The Cowboys $1.70. I don't know who to tip. I think the Cowboys will probably win, but it's a match that doesn't seem to matter all that much in the grand scheme of the competition.
Yeah, the Cowboys were very good against the Broncos last week, but again, it was those drop balls, it was those little mistakes, it was the things that they've been doing all year that cost them. And it's part of me thinking that the Chooks will win this. I just, the wind's out of their sails. The Cowboys, they know they can't do anything. So the big farewell, the wave, they'll probably get 20-odd thousand people here. I think the Roosters might just sneak in. And they don't want the wooden spoon either, so that helps.
Yeah, I don't want to tip. I'll go with the Cowboys.
Okay.
There you go. Newcastle versus Penrith. This is a cracking game, this one. $1.55 the Knights, the Panthers at $2.60 at the moment. Now, I'm going to put a dampener on this game because either team, whoever they make the finals, are going to get pumped in week one the way they're playing. Particularly Penrith. I mean, they get lapped by 40 by Parramatta the other day, and there's still a chance of making the finals.
Yeah, but they're the sort of side that can mix their form. They're a funny football team. And I actually think, and I'm going out on a limb here, and I know the limb's right out to the left, Rogers suspended, Zeb Taylor shoulder problem, Fayoso problem. I reckon the Pennies might win this. I think Penrith will get Newcastle and they'll make the finals and Newcastle will be on their end of season.
Really?
That's my fearless prediction.
I think
been wrong once
Newcastle
before back in the early 80s, but that's my prediction.
Home ground advantage for the Knights will get them there, and I sort of hope they make it too, because I reckon Penrith might get hammered in week one of the finals. I think it'll be embarrassing. And the final game to round out the weekend, heading in towards there's a Sunday night fixture, is it not?
Yeah, because of the finals, they don't want to make it difficult for other. Brisbane playing Canberra, and if you remember, just a few weeks ago, it was Canberra 56 points to 0 over Brisbane. I think this Brisbane side could almost do the same to Canberra.
Really?
Although they were good at home, they travel like the freshest of prawns, the freshest of seafood. Get them out of Braddon or Manuka or Kingston, and they are just absolute berries. And I don't think they'll do well in Brisbane.
What about how they've been going at home?
Oh, great at home. We mentioned
everyone.
We mentioned that ridiculous analogy last week with the comfy chair, but they just get out of the suburbs, get out of the nation's capital, and they're just absolute pork chops. They won't win.
Put them in an esky when you take them up to Brisbane. That'd be my suggestion.
Buy some ice along the way and the servos.
Have to stop a few times, actually. Now, the premiership market here at the moment, big news. The Bulldogs are the new favourites with Betfair to win the comp. For the first time this year, the Dragons, first time the Bulldogs have been favourites. The Dragons, of course, since they've been playing so well. $4.80, the Dragons $5.20, Manly $6.20, $7 Parramatta are fourth favourites.
Yep.
And Melbourne at $7.20, then Brisbane $10.50 the Titans. I mean, talk about going along under the
radar.
That's what I'm looking for. They're third place, and they're sixth favourites to win, the seventh favourites to win the comp.
Yeah.
Could they sneak up and do something?
I think anyone can. I just think it's a very open competition. The Brett Kamali factor brought things back to the field. With him in the side, I would say that the Bulldogs deserve their fairly significant favouritism for the competition. But Parramatta in form, Brisbane a different football team to what they were a few weeks ago. Gold Coast under the radar. The Dragons looking to hit back. It's going to be quite a month. And the Manly side and Melbourne, wow.
All right, Betfair.com, the place to go this weekend. Of course, we'll come back next week, have a look at week one of the finals. There's going to be plenty of action this weekend and heading towards the playoffs too.
Enjoy your footy.